My name's Ethan Cole. I'm 26 years old, and I live in Portland, Oregon. I worked as a junior architect at a boutique design firm called Harper & West. I was the guy who stayed late without being asked, who brought coffee for the whole team, who took on the projects no one else wanted. I was also the guy who never expected his entire life to change in the span of 3 days. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it, my boss fired me. Then his wife called me honey. Monday started like every other Monday. Rain tapping against the bus window, earbuds in, a half-eaten granola bar in one hand, sketchbook in the other. I had no idea that by Friday, I'd be staring at my apartment ceiling, questioning everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and myself. I walked into the office at 7:52 a.m., 8 minutes early. I always was. My boss, Richard Harper, co-founder and principal designer, was already in his glass office, suit pristine, eyes glued to his screen. The man was like a statue, cold, imposing, barely blinked. I nodded at him through the glass. No response. Typical. Then, at 11:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. A calendar invite. Subject: meeting with Richard, urgent. Time now. I felt the weight of the word urgent settle in my chest like wet cement. I knocked lightly and stepped into his office. Ethan, he said, voice clipped. Sit. I did. My palms were already sweating. There's no easy way to say this, Richard said. We're letting you go. Effective immediately. I blinked. I don't understand. He slid a folder toward me. Performance concerns. Missed deadlines. Lack of leadership initiative. That's not true, I said, my voice small but shaking. I've hit every deadline. I stayed late every night last week. It's not up for debate, he said, standing. You'll receive severance for 2 weeks. HR will be in touch. And that was it. I walked out dazed, like someone had yanked the floor out from under me and I was still midair, waiting to crash. I didn't know what was worse, losing the job or not understanding why. That night, I got drunk on cheap whiskey and rage, punched my pillow, then I cried into it. By 1 a.m., I was staring at my phone. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe revenge. I opened my contacts and scrolled to Lena Harper. Yes, my boss's wife. We'd met twice, once at the firm's holiday party, once at a gallery opening Richard dragged us all to. She was warm, blonde hair always pinned neatly, laughed like a breeze on a hot day. There was something kind behind her eyes, like she saw people in a way her husband never did. I don't remember exactly what I wrote. Something like, hey, sorry if this is out of line, but I got fired today. Just needed someone to talk to who might understand what I lost. Ethan. I never expected a reply, but at 1:17 a.m., it came. What? I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Want to talk? We talked, and talked, and talked. That night turned into daily messages, voice notes, then late-night phone calls that blurred into dawn. She never said anything inappropriate. Not at first. She was comforting, curious. Richard didn't even mention letting someone go, she said on our second call. That's not like him. Are you sure there isn't something else going on? I wasn't sure of anything anymore. By Friday, I was spiraling. Out of a job. Rent looming. No leads. That's when it happened. It was raining hard, Portland style, sideways and relentless. I was halfway through a leftover slice of cold pizza when someone buzzed my apartment. Lena, soaked to the skin, coat clinging to her, hair matted, eyes wide. I had to see you, she said. I stepped back, stunned. She walked inside, her voice trembling. He's cheating, isn't he? I stared at her. Richard. She nodded, laughing bitterly. You know how I found out? He used the firm's credit card to book a hotel room for her. She left an earring. I found it. She paused, studying me. You were the only person who ever said anything real to me. And tonight, I didn't want to be alone. I handed her a towel. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, she whispered. Then, out of nowhere, she touched my cheek, looked into me, and said, "Honey, you're not just some fired intern to me." My chest thudded. She leaned in, and I kissed her. The kiss was soft at first, uncertain, like neither of us believed it was really happening. Then, all at once, it wasn't soft. It was hungry. Years of silence from her husband had collapsed into a single moment, and I was just the man standing too close to her when it all fell apart. She tasted like wine and rain. When she pulled back, breathless, her eyes shimmered. "I shouldn't have come," she whispered. "But God, it feels good not to feel invisible." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. I just held her. We sat on the couch for a while, wrapped in a heavy silence. Her fingers brushed mine, but her eyes were somewhere else. Maybe somewhere far in the past, or maybe in the morning, trying to figure out what the hell this night would cost. At some point, I said, "Do you want to stay the night?" She didn't answer. She just nodded and curled up next to me, head resting on my shoulder. And I didn't sleep a second. Morning hit like a spotlight. Warm sunlight lit up the living room where Lena lay still asleep under my gray hoodie. Hair tousled, cheeks flushed from the cold. I watched her for too long, then hated myself for it. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. Voicemail. Played it. "Ethan, it's me. Richard. I'm not sure what to say. I know you must be angry, but I need you to call me back. It's important. Please." What the hell? Was this some kind of trap? I glanced at Lena, still asleep on the couch, looking like the ghost of everything I wasn't supposed to want. Later that afternoon, I finally called Richard back. I stepped out into the rain to do it. I didn't want Lena to hear. He picked up on the first ring. "Ethan," he said, his voice weirdly soft. "Thanks for calling back. Didn't think I'd hear from you again." He sighed. "Look, I owe you an apology. I made a mistake. I said nothing. There's been stuff going on at home, at work. I shouldn't have taken it out on you. You're good at what you do. I shouldn't have fired you." That felt like a punch. "Are you saying you're offering me my job back?" He hesitated. "I'm saying I'd like to talk. In person. Maybe dinner. I want to make it right." "Dinner? With me and Lena?" My heart stopped. "She's been distant lately," Richard continued. "I think she'd like to see you too. You always made her laugh." I nearly choked. Was he testing me? "Yeah," I said slowly. "Okay, just let me know when." "Tomorrow night. Our place. 8. "Got it." We hung up. I just stood there, phone in my hand, rain soaking through my hoodie, trying to piece together what the hell was happening. Was this some kind of power move? Did he know? Or worse, was he about to find out? When I got back to my apartment, Lena was sipping tea, her back to the window. Her mood had changed. She didn't smile, didn't ask where I'd gone. "I'm going back home tonight," she said flatly. I nodded. "I figured. I never meant to use you," she said quietly. "You didn't." She looked up then. "Don't lie to me." I sat down across from her. "You needed someone. So did I. That's not using. That's surviving." She blinked, but her eyes never left mine. "He called you, didn't he?" I nodded. "How did you know?" She gave a bitter laugh. "Because he always circles back when he's afraid he's lost control. I bet he wants dinner." My silence was her answer. "You're going, aren't you?" she asked. "I need to know what he knows, and why he really fired me." She looked at me with something like heartbreak. "Be careful, Ethan. He's not as clueless as he seems." The next evening, I stood in front of Richard and Lena Harper's front door. My shirt was pressed. I had no appetite. My hands trembled as I knocked. Lena answered. She wore a soft navy dress. Her face was unreadable. "Hi," she said. I stepped in. Richard greeted me with that same cold smile I used to see every morning. "Ethan, good of you to come." Dinner was roasted chicken, asparagus, and red wine. They made small talk, art galleries, the rainy season, a potential new firm project. I felt like I was being studied under a microscope. Then, halfway through the meal, Richard put his fork down. "So tell me," he said calmly, How long have you been sleeping with my wife? The wine nearly flew out of my mouth. Lena froze. Her fork clattered to the plate. What are you talking about? I said, trying to stay calm. Richard tilted his head. You think I didn't notice how she smiled at you? How she laughed at every joke you made when you thought I wasn't looking? Richard, stop, Lena said, voice shaking. No, I won't stop. I fired him because I saw it. The way you looked at each other, like I wasn't even in the room. I stood up. I think I should leave. Richard stood too. You're not going anywhere. Richard, Lena shouted, but he wasn't looking at her. His eyes were locked on me. You came into my house, my company, and then into her. His voice cracked. You think I didn't notice she started dressing nicer on days you worked? That she wore perfume to pick me up from the office? He grabbed a glass and hurled it against the wall. It shattered. Lena screamed, and I ran. Out the door, down the street, into the rain, my heart pounding, my brain on fire. I didn't sleep that night, not just because of what Richard said, but because Lena never called. Not to apologize, not to check on me, nothing. I didn't know what I had walked into or who I had become in the process. But I knew something for sure. This wasn't over. 3 days passed. 3 long, aching days. No texts, no calls. Not from Richard, not from Lena. It was like I'd been erased from both of their lives. I kept playing that dinner scene over and over in my head. The rage in Richard's eyes, the silence in Lena's, the sound of glass breaking like a gunshot. I didn't know what scared me more. The fact that he knew, or the fact that I didn't know what Lena had told him before I arrived. She hadn't warned me. She hadn't protected me. She just let me walk into it. That stung the most. Then, Thursday morning, I woke up to an email. Subject: Let's talk, one-on-one. From Lena Harper. Time: 6:02 a.m. Ethan, I need to explain. I couldn't before, not with him watching everything. Can we meet? Somewhere public. Please. Lena. Public. Smart. Part of me wanted to delete it. Block her. Forget any of this ever happened. But curiosity, or maybe something deeper, dragged me in. We met at a cafe in the Pearl District. It was cold and overcast, but dry for once. She wore sunglasses, even though there was no sun, and a black trench coat that looked like it had seen too many quiet arguments behind closed doors. She sat across from me, clutching her cup like it was the only thing keeping her hands from shaking. Ethan, she said softly. Why? I asked, voice low. She took off the glasses. Her eyes were bloodshot. Because I didn't know who else to turn to. Because I was angry. Because, for 1 second, you made me feel alive again. Did you tell him? I asked. She shook her head. Not everything. But I didn't lie well either. Richard sees through people. Always has. He's like a bloodhound for betrayal. I swallowed hard. So what now? She leaned in. He's planning something. I don't know what, but he's been calm. Too calm. Like he's waiting for something to land. I felt a chill run through me. What could he even do? She hesitated. You don't know the kind of power he has, Ethan. His family owns the land under that firm. He knows judges, cops, people who owe him favors. I blinked. Are you saying he'd frame me? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. That night, my apartment door was slightly open when I got home. I froze. Every horror film I'd ever watched rushed to the front of my mind. I stepped inside slowly. Drawers were open. My desk had been rifled through. Laptop missing. Hard drive gone. Nothing else was stolen, just my work files. My stomach dropped. That wasn't a robbery. It was a message. I stayed in a motel that night. Cheap, window cracked, heart pounding in the dark. I texted Lena. He broke into my place. Lena, I'm so sorry. I warned you. I'm going to the police. Lena, don't. You'll make it worse. Let me talk to him first. No more secrets. Either you're with him or you're not. Lena typing, then nothing. She never replied. The next morning, I woke to find my name trending locally online. Former Harper and West employee investigated for corporate espionage. Photos. A screenshot of an internal email claiming I'd stolen designs. A blurry image of me leaving the office on my last day, looking, conveniently, angry. I felt my world collapse. This wasn't just about a job anymore. He was erasing me. I had two choices: disappear or fight back. I chose the latter. I showed up at the Harper home unannounced. I didn't care anymore. Lena answered. She looked pale, drawn, like she hadn't slept in days. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "You lied to me," I said. "You said you'd help." "I tried." "Where's Richard?" She hesitated. "Gone. He left this morning. Business trip." I pushed past her. "I want the truth, Lena. All of it." She shut the door behind me. "Okay, you want the truth." I nodded. She stepped closer. "I didn't just come to your apartment that night because I was heartbroken. I came because I wanted him to catch us." I blinked. "What?" "I wanted a reason. Something that would make him snap. Leave. Divorce me." I didn't expect him to spiral like this. "I didn't know he'd come after you." I stared at her. "So I was what? A pawn?" "No," she said, voice trembling. "You were the first person who made me feel seen in years. But I needed him to let me go. And you were the only button I knew how to push." Couldn't breathe. I turned toward the door. "Ethan, please." But I was already gone. I walked for hours. No destination. Just my feet hitting pavement, over and over, like I could stomp the betrayal out of my chest. I thought I had fallen into a love story. But really, I'd walked into a war between two people who stopped loving each other a long time ago. And I was the perfect casualty. 3 weeks passed. The firm released a formal statement about the data breach. My name wasn't directly mentioned, but it didn't have to be. Everyone who mattered in Portland's architecture circle knew who they were talking about. I became radioactive. Job leads dried up. My portfolio was under suspicion. My name, once tied to promise, now whispered with skepticism. Lena stopped reaching out. Her last message, "I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far." She never said goodbye. Neither did Richard. That silence was the real punishment. No showdown. No public reckoning. Just erasure. Quiet and surgical. But they underestimated me. I still had one card left to play. I dug into the projects I worked on at Harper and West. One, in particular, stood out. A city redevelopment design I had contributed to heavily, including blueprints I'd drafted from scratch. It had recently been approved and was now going public as a Harper exclusive win. Only, my name was nowhere on it. But I had the sketches, the timestamps, the drafts in cloud storage Richard hadn't wiped. And I had one friend left, Juno, an editor at a local design magazine I'd met at a conference a year earlier. I sent her everything. She replied within hours. "This is gold. You sure you want to do this?" "They already burned me," I replied. "Might as well walk through the fire." The exposé hit the next week. Stolen talent. The young architect behind Harper and West's biggest project speaks out. The article went viral in local media. People remembered my name now, but not as a thief, as a survivor, a whistleblower, a victim. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't victory either, but it was truth. The firm didn't respond publicly. A quiet resignation followed. Richard's name was dropped from a conference panel. An industry award they were set to receive was quietly rescinded. "Lena," she sent me one message. "I saw the article. You did the right thing. I'm proud of you. Maybe one day you'll forgive me. Maybe one day I'll forgive myself." I never replied. Some stories don't need an epilogue. Just a quiet ending. Epilogue, what I know now. It took losing my job, my reputation, and a woman I never really had to understand something deeper about life and love. Sometimes we fall for people not because they're good for us, but because they mirror something broken inside us. We see their wounds and think healing them will heal us too. But it doesn't work like that. Love built on pain always demands more pain. Richard taught me that power doesn't always yell. It whispers through control and silence. Lena taught me that even soft hands can guide you into destruction if you're not careful. And I learned that self-respect isn't something someone can give back to you after they've taken it. You take it back yourself. So here I am, Ethan Cole, still designing, not at a fancy firm, not with a corner office, but in a small co-working space downtown, building something from the ground up again, this time with my name on every single thing I touch. This was the story I never told anyone. Now you know why. And if you're out there, confused, betrayed, wondering how the hell you got here, just know, sometimes the fire you're walking through isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to forge you.